My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a senior forensic accountant at Morrison & Associates in Atlanta. I catch million-dollar fraud schemes for a living, but none of that expertise prepared me for the moment my mother-in-law, Patricia, looked me in the eye and said, "The dinner is family only, dear. You'll understand." I was sitting at their mahogany dining table, watching Patricia serve perfectly grilled steaks to David, his sister Jessica, and the rest of his extended family. One by one, she placed beautiful plates in front of each person, everyone except me. The aroma of garlic butter and herbs filled the room, but my spot remained empty. Then came dessert, imported French tarts from some exclusive bakery downtown. Patricia made a show of it, carefully placing each delicate pastry in front of every family member, while I sat there with my hands folded in my lap, trying not to let my humiliation show. The silence was deafening. Everyone could see what was happening, but no one said a word. Finally, David's Aunt Sharon cleared her throat. "Patricia, didn't you order one for Sarah?" Patricia's smile was ice cold as she looked directly at me. "I only ordered for family." That's when 10-year-old Emma, my stepdaughter, looked up from her untouched tart with confusion written all over her face. "But Sarah is family. She's my bonus mom." That moment, seeing Emma's innocent confusion at her grandmother's cruelty, that's when I realized I'd been fighting the wrong battle for 3 years. David wasn't always like this. When we first met, he was the one who stood up to his law school professor when she made sexist comments about women in finance. He used to brag about my promotions to his friends. "My wife catches million-dollar fraudsters," he'd say with this proud smile. But somewhere along the way, that pride turned into silence. Every family dinner like this one where I was treated like an outsider, every holiday where my contributions were dismissed, every time Patricia made a cutting remark about my little accounting job, David's voice got quieter and quieter. I kept waiting for him to stand up for me the way he used to stand up for justice. But apparently, justice was easier when it wasn't his mother serving the insults. I'd been trying to prove I belonged to people who had already decided I didn't. But Emma never questioned my place in her life. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own family, smash that subscribe button. This story is about using your professional skills to reclaim your personal power. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever been excluded by people who were supposed to love you? What they didn't know was that forensic accountants don't just find missing money, we find missing truth. And I was about to audit their entire family dynamic. That night, I sat in my car in our driveway for 20 minutes, hands shaking on the steering wheel. The engine was off, but I couldn't bring myself to go inside. Was I really about to investigate my own husband's family? They were criminal suspects. Then I remembered Emma's face. "You are family." If I was going to be her bonus mom, I needed to fight for my place at this table. I went straight to my home office and opened David's retirement account. In my line of work, you learn to follow patterns, and something had been bothering me for months. Patricia was always talking about David's investments and how she was helping him grow his portfolio. But David never seemed to know the details. Here's the thing about being married to someone whose family has money. They handle things differently. When David and I got married, Patricia insisted on staying as his financial advisor, since she'd been managing his accounts since college. "It's family tradition," she said. "I helped your father build his wealth the same way. I was focused on my career, working 60-hour weeks during fraud season. And honestly, I was grateful someone else was handling the investment side. I monitored our checking and savings, the day-to-day stuff. But the retirement account? That was Patricia's expertise. You know what they say about the cobbler's children having no shoes? I was so busy catching other people's financial crimes that I trusted my family's setup completely. Patricia had been David's advisor for 15 years, longer than I'd known him. The statements came to her office first, then got forwarded to us quarterly. It's the oldest trick in the book, and I walked right into it. The first red flag hit me like a slap across the face. 3 unauthorized withdrawals, totaling $47,000, all signed off by Patricia as his financial advisor. My hands were actually trembling as I printed the statements. In all my years of forensic accounting, I'd never felt this sick looking at numbers on a page. These weren't just random digits. This was our future being stolen, one transaction at a time. When I showed David the statements at breakfast the next morning, he went pale. Mum said she was diversifying my portfolio. David, I turned my laptop screen toward him. This money went straight into her personal checking account. There's no portfolio. For a moment I thought I'd lost him. His jaw tightened and he said, "Sarah, you're being paranoid. Mum would never what? Steal?" The word hung in the air between us like a live wire. "Let me show you Jessica's tuition payments." That's when I discovered Jessica's elaborate lie. The $1,200 we'd been sending monthly for her MBA tuition at Emory, it was actually going to a debt consolidation company. Jessica was drowning in $23,000 of credit card debt and using our money to stay afloat. I pulled up her credit report, something I should have done years ago. Designer handbags, luxury vacations, expensive dinners at 5-star restaurants, all funded by us while she played the struggling graduate student. But the knockout punch was still coming. Hidden in a folder marked Family Documents, I found a promissory note. My signature at the bottom, giving Patricia access to our emergency fund, $15,000 of our money. Except I'd never signed it. I held up the forged document next to my real signature. Even David could see the difference. The S was wrong. The way the letters connected was wrong. Everything about it screamed fake. In my professional life, I'd seen hundreds of forged signatures, but seeing my own name faked by someone who was supposed to love me, that hit different. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried for the first time in months. Not because of the money, but because I realized how naive I'd been. These people didn't just dislike me. They saw me as a resource to exploit. If you've ever discovered someone you trusted was using you, you know that sick feeling in your stomach. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you're ready to see how this ends. But as I was organizing my evidence, I found something that made my blood run cold. Patricia had been forwarding screenshots of our bank statements to someone named Marcus Webb, along with messages like, "See how irresponsible he is with money?" Just like his father. She wasn't just stealing our money, she was building a narrative that David couldn't handle his finances, probably planning to convince him to sign over more control to her for his own good. I spent the next 2 days building what I call my case file. Bank statements, email printouts, credit reports, transaction histories. I organized everything the same way I would for a corporate fraud investigation. Patricia had been sloppy. Criminals always are when they think they're dealing with someone who won't fight back. The pattern was clear. Every time David got a raise or bonus, Patricia would suggest a new investment opportunity. Every time we had a major expense, like Emma's private school tuition or our home repairs, Patricia would offer to help manage our finances. And every single time, money would disappear into her accounts. I calculated the total damage, $85,000 over 3 years. That was Emma's college fund. That was our down payment for a bigger house. That was our security stolen by someone who claimed to love us. I stared at those emails for a long time that night. David was asleep next to me, completely unaware that his own mother was systematically destroying his financial future. I realized I had 2 choices. I could show him privately and watch him make excuses for her again, or I could present the evidence in a way that made denial impossible. I chose the nuclear option. I called a family meeting under the pretense of financial planning. Patricia arrived Sunday afternoon with her signature condescending smile, wearing that Chanel perfume she always used like armor. Sarah, how lovely that you're finally taking an interest in grown-up finances. I opened my laptop on the dining room table, the same table where I'd served countless family dinners while being treated like the help. Actually, Patricia, I've been very interested in your correspondence with Marcus Webb, especially the part where you called David financially irresponsible, just like his father. Patricia's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. The room went dead silent. David's head snapped up from his coffee. What? I clicked to my first slide. I found the consultation emails with elder law attorney Marcus Webb. Patricia has been building a case that David is irresponsible with money and needs a conservator. Guess who she recommended as the perfect candidate? Patricia's face went white, but she recovered quickly. That's taken completely out of context. Let's add some context then. I clicked again, and the financial records filled the screen. Unauthorized withdrawals from David's retirement account, $47,000, forged signatures on financial documents, 3 counts, fraudulent education expenses, $14,400, total theft, $85,000. Jessica, who'd been scrolling through her phone, suddenly looked up. "This is insane, Sarah. You're being..." "Thorough? Yes, I am." I turned to face her directly. "David, your sister isn't getting an MBA. She's never been enrolled at Emory. That tuition money has been paying off her credit card debt from her shopping addiction." I clicked to Jessica's credit report. Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom, Louis Vuitton. Interesting curriculum for an MBA program? Jessica's face crumpled like a house of cards. "I was going to pay it back. I just needed time." "Time you were buying with our money," I said. Then I turned back to Patricia. "And you were using this debt as evidence that David makes poor financial decisions, weren't you? Building your case for conservatorship?" David was staring at his mother like he'd never seen her before. His hands were shaking slightly. "Mom, is this true?" I could see the war happening behind his eyes. 30 years of mum knows best versus the evidence right in front of him. His breathing was getting shallow. "David, honey," Patricia's voice turned syrupy sweet. "I would never hurt you. Sarah is just confused about..." "Stop!" David's voice cracked. "Just stop talking for a minute." He stood up and walked to the window, his back to both of us. The silence stretched for what felt like forever. I watched his shoulders rise and fall as he tried to process 30 years of manipulation. When he turned around, something had shifted in his face. "Mum, show me your bank statements from the last 6 months." Patricia went pale. "David, that's completely unnecessary. Show me your statements." That's when I knew I hadn't lost him. The son was finally questioning the mother. Patricia's composure finally cracked. Her voice rose to a pitch I'd never heard before. "Everything I did was to protect this family. She's an outsider, David. She doesn't understand our values." David's voice was barely a whisper. "Our values include theft and forgery." That's when Patricia played her final card. She turned to Emma, who'd been quietly listening from the stairs in her pajamas. "Emma, sweetheart, come tell Daddy how Sarah has been saying mean things about Grandma." I felt my heart stop. This was it. This was how she was going to destroy everything, using a 10-year-old child as a weapon in her desperate attempt to maintain control. But Emma looked genuinely confused. She walked down the stairs and stood next to my chair. "Sarah never says mean things about anyone, Grandma. She just makes me pancakes and helps with my homework." Then Emma looked at Patricia with those wise little eyes. "Why are you trying to make Sarah look bad? She's always nice to everyone." David stood up slowly. "Mom, you need to leave. Now." Patricia's mask fell completely. Her voice turned vicious. "You're choosing her over your own mother?" David looked at me, then at Emma, then back at his mother. "I'm choosing my wife over a criminal. Here's what's going to happen," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "You have 48 hours to return every stolen dollar. You will sign a legal document admitting to the forgery and theft. And you will never, ever try to manipulate my stepdaughter again." Patricia's voice was shaking. Or what? Or I file criminal charges. But here's the thing, Patricia. I don't actually want you in prison. I want you out of our lives permanently. The signed confession gives me leverage. If you ever contact us again, if you ever try to manipulate Emma, if you so much as show up at a school event uninvited, that confession goes straight to the district attorney. David was staring at me. You'd really do that? I'm giving her a choice between accountability and consequences. What she does with it is up to her. Patricia left that night, slamming the door so hard it rattled the windows. But I knew she wasn't done. People like her don't just give up. They escalate. Patricia's final attack came 3 days later. She showed up at Emma's school during pickup, telling her that Sarah had destroyed the family and that Emma shouldn't trust me anymore. Emma came home in tears, clutching an expensive doll Patricia had given her. Sarah, did you really make Grandma Patricia sad? I knelt down to her level, my heart breaking at the confusion in her eyes. Emma, sometimes adults do things that hurt other people. When that happens, we have to tell the truth, even if it makes some people upset. I told the truth about Grandma taking money that wasn't hers. Emma thought about this for a moment. When Tommy took my lunch money and I had to tell the teacher. Exactly like that. When David heard about Patricia's manipulation attempt, something in him snapped. He called his mother immediately and I could hear him from the next room. Mum, if you ever try to use my daughter against my wife again, you'll never see either of us. Sarah protected our family. You attacked it. The money came back within 36 hours. A cashier's check for $85,000 with a written admission of guilt, signed and notarized. That signed confession wasn't just about getting our money back. It was insurance. My lawyer helped me file it with the court as part of a restraining order petition. Patricia now has a legal document on record admitting to felony forgery and theft. One violation of our boundaries, and she's facing criminal charges with her own signature as evidence. But the social consequences were just beginning. Within 2 weeks, Patricia's bridge club friends started avoiding her calls. By the end of the month, the country club where she'd held court for 15 years suddenly had membership issues when her renewal came up. Her reputation as the perfect society mother didn't crumble overnight. It eroded slowly, one declined invitation at a time. I ran into her former best friend Margaret at the grocery store. Sarah, honey, we all knew Patricia could be difficult. But stealing from her own son? We had no idea it had gotten that bad. Word travels fast in Patricia's social circle. The same women who used to hang on her every word at charity luncheons were now whispering about her behind her back. The volunteer positions she'd held for years, suddenly they needed fresh perspectives. The exclusive book club she'd founded, they voted her out. Jessica's journey was harder but more genuine. She came to me 3 months later, crying real tears this time. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I was so jealous of how independent you were. I'd never had to earn anything in my life, and I was terrified of failing. She's been working at a local bank for 8 months now, slowly paying back her remaining debts. Last month, she asked me to help her apply for community college. I want to earn a real degree this time, she said. The biggest change was in David. In therapy, he finally understood how his silence had enabled years of abuse. The hardest part wasn't the confrontation, it was the days after. David barely spoke for a week. He'd sit at the kitchen table with his coffee, just staring at nothing. I keep thinking about all the times she said you were being dramatic, he told me one night. All the times I chose her comfort over your dignity. How do I live with that? Therapy helped, but the real breakthrough came when Emma asked him why he looked so sad all the time. I made some mistakes, sweetheart, he told her. But I'm learning how to do better. That's when I knew our marriage might actually survive this. I thought keeping peace was the same as protecting you, he told me during one of our sessions. I didn't realize that my silence was choosing their comfort over your dignity. At work, my supervisor pulled me aside a few weeks later. Sarah, the way you handled that family situation showed incredible investigative skills. We're promoting you to lead forensic specialist. A $30,000 raise and my own team of investigators. Turns out standing up for yourself doesn't just improve your personal life, it can transform your career. David's Aunt Margaret called me personally after word spread through the family. Sarah, we've all watched Patricia's behavior for years. You did what none of us had the courage to do. Thank you for protecting David and Emma. At the next family gathering, I wasn't just included. I was welcomed. Uncle Jim asked for my advice on his investment portfolio. Cousin Lisa wanted to know how I'd caught the financial discrepancies so quickly. For the first time, they saw me as Sarah, the forensic accountant, not just David's wife. But Patricia wasn't done. 6 months later, she made one final attempt to reclaim her position. Patricia's last stand came at Emma's school play. She showed up uninvited with expensive gifts and crocodile tears, trying to guilt David into forgiveness in front of Emma's classmates and teachers. But this time, I didn't hesitate. I walked right up to her and spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. Patricia, you stole $85,000 from our family, forged my signature, and lied to your son for years. The fact that we didn't press criminal charges was your second chance. There won't be a third. She tried the waterworks again, her voice getting louder and more desperate. But I'm Emma's grandmother. I just want to be part of her life. Emma, my brave little girl, stepped forward and took my hand. Grandma Patricia, you made Sarah cry. Sarah never makes anyone cry. Maybe you should say sorry first. Even at 10 years old, Emma understood something Patricia never would. Respect isn't owed. It's earned. That was 18 months ago. Patricia still tries to reach out through relatives, sending cards and gifts that go straight into the trash. But we've held firm. David supports me completely now. He's learned that loyalty to family doesn't mean enabling their worst behavior. Here's what I learned that I wish I'd known years ago. Your professional skills are your personal power tools. I spent years accepting treatment I would never tolerate in a business setting. As a forensic accountant, I would never let a client embezzle from their own company. So why was I letting my in-laws steal from my marriage? The moment I started applying my professional standards to my personal relationships, everything changed. I documented everything, demanded accountability, and enforced consequences. But here's the most important lesson. You don't have to wait until you're pushed to your breaking point. The red flags were there from day one. Trust your instincts, set boundaries early, and remember, you're not responsible for other people's reactions to your boundaries. Today, David and I are stronger than ever. Emma calls me Mom now. Her choice, not mine. Jessica graduated from community college last month with a 3.8 GPA and a job offer from a credit union. She's become the sister I never expected to have, and me, I'm the regional director of forensic accounting now, leading a team of 12 investigators. I speak at conferences about financial fraud detection. Last month, I was featured in Accounting Today magazine. But you know what the best part is? Emma's friends all know me as the cool mom who catches bad guys with math. If this story inspired you to set some boundaries in your own life, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We post new revenge stories every Tuesday and Friday. Drop a comment and tell me, what's one boundary you need to set but haven't yet? Let's support each other in the comments. And if you have your own story of standing up to toxic family members, share it in the comments below. Sometimes just telling your truth can be the first step toward freedom. Remember, the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting free. And sometimes the person you need to save isn't someone else. It's yourself. You are not responsible for other people's feelings about your boundaries. You are only responsible for maintaining them. Stand up, speak up, and never apologize for knowing your worth.